Be the right club. Be the right club today.
Yes! Johnny, that's better than most. How about in? That is better than most. Better than most! Expect anything different?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to drink. Welcome to the High Noon Sun Sips No Laying Up live show. Solly here. Mr. TC trying to open up a can.
I got a big can here, Solly. This is a big can.
You know what it is? It's a can of whoop-ass. It's a can of whoop-ass, TC.
Big day. Big day today.
For those that don't know that reference, that's what Tiger said Saturday night of the Ryder Cup when they were down 10-6. He goes, oh, see that can over there? It's a can of whoop-ass. And they went out and came. I don't think that's what is going on in the U.S. team room right now. But DJ Pie is here as well. Hello, Pie Man.
Hello, Soli. A lot of directions we could go. A lot of directions we could go. A lot of great men that we saw out on the golf course today. Thank you to Spy Drone for pointing that out in the comments. Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's get into it.
If you haven't heard, High Noon has a new non-carbonated vodka iced tea flavor pack. The new Lake Pack introduces two new exciting flavors, green tea and half and half. I am going half and half here tonight. TC is not showing off the Lake Pack.
I have a Lake Pack big can.
Just so there's not confusion. He was very eager to show off that the non-iced tea. But the Lake Pack brings together real vodka and crisp iced tea packed up for maximum flavor to bring wherever your day takes you. Visit highnoonspirits.com to find a pack near you. High Noon, Suns Up. Also, shout out to our friends at Golf Pride. For over 75 years, Golf Pride has been the leader in golf grip technology and innovation, with more than 80% of tour pros choosing to play their grips, and not a single one is paid to do so. This week, 22 of 24 players from Team USA and Team Europe are gaming Golf Pride grips. Whether they prefer the classic feel and performance of Tour Velvet, the added traction of Tour Velvet Cord, the all-weather control of MCC, the reduced taper and larger lower hand of MCC Plus 4, that's me, the maximum firmness and durability of Z Grip Cord, or the consistent hand placement on Align Max.
That's me. I didn't know we had all three. How about that?
When everything is on the line, the world's best, trust Golf Pride. The year might be winding down, but don't end the season worn out. Right now, listeners of the pod get 20% off a full set of up to 13 swing grips and a putter grip at golfpride.com with code NLU at checkout through the end of the year. That's a fantastic deal. Code NLU at golfpride.com. Nest members get 25% off that full set of 13 swing grips and one putter grip with the one-time use code in your member profile. Performances in your hands with Golf Pride, #1 grip in golf worldwide.
I would say do it now so you don't have to do it at the beginning of next year.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, you got all the time to regrip your clubs. Deej, where do you want to go?
Well, let's level set. Headlines for the day here, guys. Europe leads 11.5 to 4.5. Let me say that again. Europe leads 11.5 to 4.5 on foreign soil. I'm not a math guy, but I think that means the U.S. will have to win 10 out of 12 singles matches to complete the 28-3 comeback that Keegan Bradley was referencing on live from just now. Thomas Fleetwood moves to 4-0, just a complete
Great man does not describe it completely.
Thank you.
Exactly.
It is
everybody seems to be coming around now.
Most majestic golf performances I've ever seen. Honestly.
Can't wait to see what Randy says about him tomorrow night.
Randy has gone in hiding. Randy's in his white Bronco flying down the interstate right now, being chased down about his takes, I think. Scotty moves to 0-4. Gotta think we're going to talk about that. I believe Golf Channel had or NBC had a graphic. First player to go 0-4 since at least 1979, when I think they changed the format. Keegan puts out Harris English and Colin Morikawa again in the morning. A lot of people had a lot of fun with that. We're going to talk about that one. He pairs up Scotty and Bryson in the afternoon. That was interesting. We're going to talk about that. Justin Rose makes 8 birdies on his own ball. Birdies 6 of the first 8 holes, while Tommy is doing his 90 minutes of scuffling this week. Carries the team to a 3-2 victory.
And Tommy steps back in.
And then Tommy steps back in and almost makes the rest of his shots. And Victor Hovland, a late scratch in the afternoon with some neck pain, potential my neck, my back situation. TC. We're going to get into that.
Actually, Dove's been running that spot this week, minus the crack part.
TC, I'll throw it to you first. I was just watching live for him before this. Brandel, you know I'm a Brandel guy. You know there's a Brandel house. Very fired up, rightfully so. He said this team is the 2000 Tiger Woods of Ryder Cup teams. Just speak on this, man. Talk about this European excellency.
Yeah, I think Brandel was trying to put salve in the wound for the US fans of saying, hey, like, don't dismay, you're watching history here. And I'm not sure like they're playing that good of golf. I think it's just a combination of the two or the three of US not playing good golf, Europe playing great golf, and then Keegan and the squad like exacerbating the bad golf or causing the bad golf through poor leadership in the first place. Who knows what that's like, but either way, I just think there's some shit that data can't capture, can't figure out. And whether it's Rose, whether it's Tommy, Hatton's 3-0, Rory's 3-0-1, Rahm is 3-1. There's just it goes back to last night with Randy. It's the great men. And we have great men. And at some point, the US side just straight up doesn't, they just don't have the dudes. And at some point, on top of that, the churlishness and the just the lack of class, both from the fans and from Ted Scott and Bryson and Scotty and those guys on that green, that was unbelievable to watch. And I could not like Rose is trying to line up his putt, and Bryson's caddy is
Greg
straight
Bodine,
up,
not the NASCAR driver.
Is straight up like he is right in the mix there. And like that was not an outrageous thing for Rosie to say like, hey man, like it's my fucking putt here. Just get out of the way.
It's the first semblance of a process we've seen from Team USA. At least that's part of the play.
And then Teddy gets up there and he's chirping, getting in Tommy's face. Shout out to Francesco Molinari for kind of stepping in, and like Finno was going to beat somebody's ass.
He was the one.
I'll take Finno against anybody in the world. And then on top of that, Kisner's walking back behind him, and Kisner's he's just like, get out of there, Kisner. You're like, get out of this whole Ryder Cup. You're part of the problem for the US. Get out of there. Solly, the floor is yours.
So I believe the context, and we don't have the full explanation yet, was somebody had said Bryson had put his ball down and Jibo thought it was their turn. So he goes to make a lap around the hole, not realizing that Rose was away. Like that was a mistake to do that. Like,
are you on a Jibo terms with Jibo?
Yeah, I know Jibo. Yeah, me and Jibo are straight. So that is like the source of it, right? And I think it just is one of those Ryder Cup things where like Rose even admitted afterwards, I probably said it more harshly than I needed to say it in the moment, but like tensions were running high, whatever that may be. And then it just escalates really quickly. So it's just kind of one of those kind of silly things. But Ted Scott didn't need to get involved the way that he did. It just didn't seem like
of course, Teddy inserts himself into the mix, right?
It just didn't seem like it needed to be that high of level. I mean, I'm sure, especially for the European guys that have just been getting abused for 4 sessions, are probably just running high, on high alert as it is. And it's just a golf little chippy thing. Like we needed something.
What was the vibe? Like, who did you follow today? Just so we can level set before you talk on anything. So who did you follow and like, what was your day like?
My plan this morning, I went out for foursomes. I did not go out for 4-ball. Neil took the inside the ropes pass for 4-ball this afternoon. I was planning to follow the Rahm Hatton Xander Cantlay match this morning, but then like this morning, I went to the first tee, was there plenty early, watching the warm up. Some funny stuff we could talk about there. Had a video go a little bit viral, and then some people come up and some people on the other side of the pond come up and tell me, and like there was just a little extra charge in the air, and there was they were trying to lead, like Heather McMahon, the comedian, was like trying, like was clearly like instructed to like try to lead a chant, like the
Who do you think told her that?
boom,
Susie Whaley, Derek Sprague, Don Ray.
There's going to be a lot of blame to pass
Also,
around
who picked a famous British song to get everybody going as well? That's just another icing on the cake.
So
Lee Westwood on
that,
Twitter. That was him observing that one.
History matters, right, Deej?
Yeah, that's
and
right.
then they tried to do Scotty, but it was so awkward that everybody just started booing. And so this riled up the crowd, and the crowd starts yelling, "Fuck you, Rory!" And Rory's not even coming out yet. Like Rory's his match isn't even first. He goes, "Fuck you, Rory!" And then Heather on the microphone like says it back. She's like, "Yeah, fuck you, Rory!" And it was like, okay, that you're like the official PGA of America like organizer here.
31,000.
I don't know if you should be doing that. I don't know if you should be saying that. Also, like, I don't know if you should have been put in this situation because you probably didn't know you shouldn't be doing that. It's all just very in line with how things are currently being run. There's a lot of things we're going to nip. Anyways, so all that to say, I was like, you know what? I think something's going off with Rory today. And I followed that match, and I got to witness incredible golf. It was relatively calm. Like Rory was getting a lot of comments on the third hole. Somebody yelled at him like, "Nice vest, Rory." And he's like, "Oh, I got a comment. Thank you. It's a cardigan, but thanks for noticing." The movie line, whatever. It's in good spirits. But so it didn't really pop off. They were dominating that match, and you could just tell, Rory's getting a bunch of the thing today was just to remind the European players of like their worst close calls, worst embarrassments. Everybody yelling Pinehurst at Rory, Travelers at Tommy. Francesco Molinari walked by. They yelled 2018 Masters at him. Like the whole thing was just to heckle. Like it was just going to be heckle. And it, to a level
without any sort of IQ behind it.
None.
Okay.
But
We're
again,
just straight up calling out. It's like a Wikipedia session.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
Very loud though. Very loud.
I'm going to say this multiple times tonight. I don't want the Joker. I want whoever let him off his chains is like, you brought the Ryder Cup to Bethpage. This was always going to happen. They're under-marshaled out there. Like there's not people until this afternoon.
Under-marshaling.
They're not people like telling, there's no one from, you should have been ahead of this to like have people prepared to tell people to knock it off. Right. And that finally came this afternoon with cops out there, but they just didn't have enough. Like they're not policing that well enough. Anyways.
Was Eric Adams out there?
I did not see him out there. So that didn't really pop off, but from all reports from this afternoon, it got like disturbing. Like there was just a lot of people that were, I didn't read one comment that was like, yeah, they're overreacting to all this. It was like, dude, there's stuff about family, stuff about families being said and just like against the spirit of this event.
They said Rory and Shane got asked afterwards and Rory took the high road of like, I've been like, nobody's been more down on Rory over the last 7 or 8 months than me. And I give Rory a lot of credit for just biting his tongue and being like, hey, you know what? Like that's the Ryder Cup and we're going to do that. And also like, that's not the Ryder Cup. And like, fuck all of these people. Cause that's absurd.
And credit to Luke Donald for like very clearly having his team prepared for this. Like they've handled it so well, honestly. I am also totally fine with Rory turning around saying, shut the fuck up on 15 when they're like, his whole point of like, dude, I'm not like, you can yell whatever you want, but I'm getting into my shot.
It's still
like
a sporting event.
Yes. Let's do that part. And the heckling was continually getting too close to shots. Even on the first tee, it's just like getting too close to it. It's right up until they pull the club back. I didn't hear anything in anybody's backswing, but it just was still like just everybody's trying to one up each other. And it's really uncreative. And it's just like, especially when your team is getting absolutely shellacked, it's just like the worst vibe and worst look. And so I ended up bouncing around. They got up by so much. I mean, Tommy and Rory, it was just like a symphony, man. It was such beautiful, like pass the baton, alt shot golf. It was just awesome. Rory hit this, I don't know what iron it was, maybe 7 iron, 6 iron on 3 today. That just the sound of it just like was one of the purest sounding golf strikes I've ever heard. And it just landed right past the pin. And they birdied like 4 of the first 5 holes, 4 of the first 6 holes, whatever it was. And just chased Morikawa in English right out of it immediately. And so I ended up bouncing around to try to see, I want to see Bryson and Cam Young a little bit this morning. Saw a little bit like that, but that was clearly where the point was going to be. And I was like, all right, we got to follow Scotty and Henley in. did that and just watched them get disappointed as well.
That's like the knife's edge where
Yeah.
Scotty and Henley are.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you kind of alluded to it. The beautiful symphony that was going on, because I would say the crowd stuff was probably a like story B today. Story A was just a pure ass kicking and how
all-time
ass kicking. And I think that the US did a good job of kicking its own ass yesterday in a lot of ways, and putting themselves behind the 8 ball and kind of setting themselves up to be gripping the bat a little too tight today. But
And then they did that again this morning.
To an extent, they played a better golf today. It just didn't matter.
No, for sure. Yeah, but also like Keegan insisted on putting
Harris and Colin Morikawa back out, which again, Solly, much like you were saying the other day, it's like on one hand, true, seemingly a historically not bueno pairing. On the other hand, don't think anyone's going to beat those guys. So maybe it's just glowing brand stuff. Keep Benny Booms rested, keep Spawn rested. Ben Griffin was the guy that sat all day for the U.S. team. Rasmus sat all day for the European team. Hard to totally argue with that based on how they played yesterday and the way some of the matchups worked. And
Colin shouldn't have been on the team. But
who should have been on the team instead?
Yeah,
because I feel like that's what I keep waffling.
Goddard. I mean, honestly, like at some point there's no dogs on the team. Spieth. I mean, at some point, Solly, I know you said that. Like, just get guys that want to be out there, that want the moment. And at some point, I think we get so locked in on the point standings and the world rankings and the data golf and all of that. And at some point, like, who's a dog and who wants to play in a crazy ass environment where your adrenaline is running wild and you're playing with a partner and you're out of your element. Max said it on the podcast last night. He said, like, it's really, really hard to go out there and go from this individual thing to your entire warm-up routine is completely shot.
TC, can I ask you this? Do you think the US is even 1% of the way there to getting to the point where they can identify that person?
No.
Right? Like, that's where I'm like, dude, you got to take the best guys with how you guys do your process, which is the wrong way.
But honestly, Solly, I feel like when you do go to the data, when you say, all right, who are the best guys? And you go with the data and it's like, all right, cool. Like these were the best guys in this completely different environment throughout the year.
This is still what Europe is doing, though. Like, everybody's got the same stroke play data.
No, I think Europe said, like, hey, like, we want veterans. We don't want, like, I mean, McGinley was just talking about it on Live From, and Dodo said it, like, we still want an open competition, but we want, like, we know, we kind of know what we want, and we're going to rig it. And you can call that a boys club or a lads club or whatever. But at the same time, like, we have a carryover thing. Like, they have 11 of the same guys, and those guys know exactly what to expect, both in the team room and when they go out there and all of that. It may be a little bit more ramped up. And I think at some point with the US, you have a lot of rookies on there, but I think even the guys that were veterans or that made the team on points, those guys don't, like, I'm not sure those are the guys that are going to be the leaders, right? You got like the Cantlays, or like, I don't know what kind of leader Bryson is.
Or Scotty.
Right? Or Scotty. I mean, Scotty's 0-4 right now. And I think that's a little bit of a misnomer, because a lot of guys wouldn't have gone out all 4 sessions, and he's probably been saddled a little bit, but
his golf hasn't been that bad. I mean,
I think at the end of the day, if you're going to use data to do it, then you have to use data all the way. No, so sorry. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you're going to use data to do the team, then you got to use data all the way through it. If you're going to use data to pick the team and then go on the eye test, or, you know what, I got a hunch that these guys are going to play well together.
100%.
That's the worst of all worlds right there.
100%.
Whereas it's insane to me. Like, it just, and like Keegan, I mean, honestly, like, is Zach Johnson paying Keegan to like take it to make him look better? Because
you know what?
Either the Scouts Inc. guys are the most least persuasive guys on the planet. I mean, it's insane what is happening here.
You know, our first audience question always goes to our guy TGL Incel, who said tonight in the questions, how does this week affect Zach Johnson's legacy? Which I thought was actually kind of a good question. You know,
it is a I hope I'm properly applying this one. It's a Schrodinger's cat situation where Keegan is going to go down as the worst captain in Ryder Cup history, probably, if not U.S. It's not his fault. It's not his fault, honestly. And we'll get into that. But
I think there's also never happened. We can have this either tonight or tomorrow. That whether he will go down as that captain, whether people are going to believe that or not.
As of now,
I think the 31,000 might be the worst captain.
But it would have never and should have never happened, but did, because ZJ was so ineffective that they took a plan where they won 19-9, had one bad captain, and threw the entire thing out and tried to start from scratch, which led to this situation where Keegan should have never ever been the captain. So, like,
Sully,
I don't want to.
Was there anything to build upon though from Rome of like if they didn't start from like they were starting from scratch either way? Right?
I've said this all year. I do not think for a home game you had to totally scrap everything. I thought for a home game you could.
No, I know, but like, what did they have to begin with?
But like, I think you could I think the biggest error in all this, you can poke at the pairings, you can poke at all kinds of stuff. I think the biggest error that has been made is whatever they've done with this course setup. And again, I don't know exactly where the line ends. They have created a stage for Europe to play this kind of. They have completely punted on the biggest advantage. Biggest advantage you have in this event, which is the home field advantage. And they have. We just heard Max last night detailing of like, yeah, I did look back, and man, Europe played us like a fiddle in terms of making us hit all the shots where we didn't have the advantage. They blah blah blah, and they have turned this event into a putting contest, and they're getting absolutely schooled on it in record-setting fashion. It is so hard to have messed it up as badly as they did that I just think Keegan again. He's not been involved in a Ryder Cup since 2014. He's not been assistant captain. He doesn't know what goes into course setup. He doesn't
10 years, 11
years.
That's so sick.
So like him to miss very widely on like some of the basics of some of that. And I know he's got some assistant captains that have been there, but it's inarguable they've missed.
Those people need to wear this. Those people need to wear this.
100%.
Webb, those guys are super, super smart. Furyk.
To have missed that wide, like, is understandable considering he's not been part of the process, has not been groomed to take this thing over. Like, it's the exact opposite of how Europe is doing it. The guys that get groomed in this system, and Thomas Bjorn is still there, like sharing all the same info. Like
some point, Sully,
that's so bad.
But at some point, the whole thing with Keegan was there's nothing to learn or there's nothing to groom on. Let's just start a new legacy here. And Keegan couldn't even do that. And I think that's part of it. And then B, you've got like just from a setting aside the competition element of it, which I think there's something there with that as well. But it is such a poor just golf display. Like it's a dart fest. It's TrackMan golf. Like they could play this fucking thing on a TrackMan in a simulator because I mean, balls are spinning back in the fairway on the first tee. It's insane.
I'd be honestly curious. I think we could hear from Team Europe after this that there are situations where they're aiming for the rough. And I don't think it's bad strategy. I honestly don't think it's bad strategy.
On the wide side of the hole
It's easier to stop the ball near the hole from the rough than it is from the fairway where you don't have to predict your spin. And it rained Thursday, but like it
shouldn't be that
soft. This is the softest golf course I've ever seen. I don't understand what happened here. You can say like that's all up to chance. That's weather. That's out of your hands. Like Europe would never let that happen. Okay, and that's the difference. Like the standard that we're holding the U.S. captains to is not even to like a neutral level. You're up against Europe, who is doing all the things that matter.
Sully, I think part of that though is I wouldn't even put that on Keegan. I would say like the standard that you're holding Keegan up to is. Does Keegan have any wherewithal against the PGA of America? Of like, those like who knows what the fuck they're doing? I mean, it's like truly. I don't think there's a more rancid organization in all of sports to where like I've talked to so many PGA Tour or
FIFA.
Yeah, FIFA will be up there. But PGA professionals
IOC.
this week who
Live.
have messaged me and been like, "Hey man, like what's up with Sprague and Don?" Or like, and it's truly, it just feels like they have no idea what they're doing. And I would imagine by 2030, the PGA Tour owns 51% of the US side of the Ryder Cup. Like they're going to take the screws to them over the next 5-6 years. And that's what it's going to be, because truly, like the PGA of America, they are a rudderless organization, and it's been unbridled greed and ineptitude on their side all week, and even for the last 12 months leading up to this.
I can't believe I'm saying this on the same podcast.
They make the PGA Tour look
we
like.
used to joke about this, about how bad, like, oh my God, please keep the PGA Tour away from the Ryder Cup. It's the only thing that's
PGA Tour needs to take over the Ryder Cup.
And now it's just like, wow, you live long enough, man. That's crazy. So I think going back to some of your setup stuff,
stage a coup, like the 31,000. I will tell you, if you guys want to organize, I will be the center of that. Tron@nolayingup.com. Send me an email. Stage a coup. These are ghouls. Susie Whaley and the whole gang. They are ghouls. Send me an email.
Going back, come to death row. Going back to your core setup stuff, Sully. I think two things that stuck out to me. I tweeted this on X, the Everything app. Drilling into the putting contest stuff, because a lot of people are like, I think that goes over a lot of people's heads. And I think the point is less about the putting statistics, and it's more about the fact that everybody's hitting all of the greens because there's no penalty for hitting the rough. So then it kind of is left to, well, which of these two teams is going to make more putts? And it's probably the one that's made more putts every year at this event for the last 30 years. And I don't know this, believe it or not, I've never played a Ryder Cup. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about here, but again, I go back to yesterday. It's like one of those teams felt like the putts were going to go in, and one didn't. And today was that times a million. And I don't know what it's like to play at a Ryder Cup, but I do know what it's like to play golf when you're stressed out. And it's really fucking hard to make putts when you start trying to make putts, and it's like, which of those two teams can get into blackout mode and figure it out? Like, I know what that feels like too, to an extent. And you're not thinking about, oh my God, I need to make this. You're thinking about, like, I cannot wait to make this. Of course I'm going to make this. And that one of those teams has that, and one of the teams does not. So
Hatton's got that to a T.
Can I run some numbers by you? Number one in strokes gained putting so far this week. Who do you think that might be? He's been recently promoted to a great man. I'm going
to say great man, Justin Rose. We don't actually know if he's a great man. Randy's in hiding.
That's only through 2 rounds too, right?
2 rounds.
That's right.
Yeah. John Rahm is second. Victor Hovland is third.
Rahm's been immense, man.
Tyrrell Hatton is fourth. Sepp Straka is fifth. Shane Lowry is sixth. That is 6 Europeans are the top putters so far.
But I heard that Shane and Sepp were washed. I heard that those guys were liabilities.
Overall, they've been massive liabilities, TC, by the numbers. So I would just check your takes here just for a second. Here.
Situational golf, my man.
Cam Young is next on the list. Then it goes McIntyre, and then it goes Rory. The only other 2 guys that are barely positive are Scotty and DeChambeau. The bottom 4 putters, if you'll allow me. JJ Spawn.
Tommy might be bottom 4, and he's 4-0.
He's almost perfectly neutral in putting.
Okay. Which is more incredible.
Yeah. Tommy's winning in win probability added. Like every putt that needs to be made is going in, and the ones that are like, somebody's kind of close.
Dog.
Yeah, I don't need to.
He's a dog.
Bottom 4 putters: JJ Spawn, Sam Burns, Colin Morikawa, Justin Thomas. So it's just, and again, I get the sentiment from people out there. They're just like, who cares? Both got to play the same course, and they're just better. They're just playing better, and like that is missing 85 elements of what goes into like why somebody plays better. Of course, the test of skills that you are identifying to be tested is a massive part of this. And the U.S. had a tee to green advantage over Team Europe. Not a massive one, but like not a statistically insignificant advantage from tee to green. And they've beaten them from tee to green, but it just hasn't been a factor. Like it has not been a factor at all because.
But also they've taken that out with pairings as well. correct?
Bad pairings because like the gap in like strokes gained right now is not nearly as significant as it was in Rome. That's the bad part. Is like, not all strokes gained are equal in this format, but that's again credit to like how Team Europe has gotten the most out of all of their top guys and how they've been able to cover their bottom guys with great pairings and great men. Honestly,
I got two things. I think one is, it seems like the U.S. is, I have no statistical basis for this. It seems like the U.S. has won the first hole a lot. Both either won or tied the first hole a lot. And I think that, which is really interesting, because the next point I have is that I think once you get down on a setup like this, it's really, really, really hard to make up ground and to,
because the other teams don't make bogeys.
There's been like
to claw back from 2 down is like, all right, cool. Like we have to birdie the next, like, I mean, props to Cantlay today. Cantlay birdied like 4 holes in a row. And it's like, he had to, I mean, that was immense, because like, otherwise there's no chance you're going to even claw back from 2 down. Like you got to birdie 4 or 5 holes in a row.
This comes, I mean, just to speak about how easy this is, this comes from the Data Golf Live blog. It said, conditional on length, this is likely one of the easiest courses played on the PGA Tour in a long time.
This might be Vedanta World.
This is like, it's pretty close to that.
Bethpage Black Vedanta World. Vedanta World Black.
In partnership with Vedanta World. Vedanta World
Grupo
Black.
Salinas.
This place literally has a sign next to the first tee about how hard it is. Like, what did they do to this golf course?
They didn't even leave that there. That's not even there anymore. They moved it. It's gone.
How did they let this happen? I don't understand this. This would never, ever, ever happen on Europe's watch. Ever. They would not ever.
Well, yeah, but also Europe would never have played. Like, I'm not a Bethpage fan. I think it's Torrey Pines East, but also like Europe would have never played a tournament on as good of a course as this either.
No, but that like,
I do like Adair Manor. Adair Manor will be fun.
Yes, that will.
Yeah.
Marco Simone was a disaster. But like they manipulated it to the perfect way. The perfect way. Honestly, they made it entertaining too. That was the surprise. But
so who we need to thank today?
We need to next thank our friends at SoFi for sponsoring today's episode. They're the all-in-one finance app where you can bank, borrow, and invest. Think about your golf swing. The more you practice, the better it gets, allegedly. Same goes for your money. By investing consistently over time, you can increase the potential for long-term growth. That's why we love SoFi. They have all-in-one investing that's easy to use. The best part, right now, you'll get up to $3,000 in stock when you fund a new active investment account before October 1st. Up to $3,000 in stock when you fund a new active investment account.
How much do you have to
October 1st?
Fund?
I don't know the answer to that exactly, but you can learn more about that at SoFi.com/NLUTC. Whether you're an experienced,
I might do that.
I know it's a great offer. Whether you're an experienced investor or just getting started, SoFi helps you stay on top of your financial game so you can reach your ambitions. SoFi.com/NLU to claim $3,000 in stock. Again, SoFi.com/NLU. Learn how to get your money right with SoFi Invest before the promo ends October 1st. Also, it reminds me that the U.S. is getting paid for this performance. That's
I'm glad you said that. Good question from Sean Marash, I believe. Should the PGA ask the players to return the money?
Wow.
Sounds like
really,
they would.
Well, really the charities, because
charities.
all of them donated the stipend, correct? Except for it didn't seem like Xander and Cantlay got enough to drape the flag around their shoulders. They were the only ones that didn't.
They just have more respect for the American flag than the other guys did.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, going back, like, I think, what did you think of the whole kerfuffle on,
on 15?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think tensions were. This is with no kind of on the ground insight from me, but just watching as a viewer. This is going back to the Justin Rose, Greg Bodine, Bryson, J. Ted Scott, Finno situation. It seemed like Rose kind of, probably said it like by his own admission, a little more hostile than he meant. I think that,
but also like he shouldn't have to say it.
Sure,
either.
Of course.
Like I think it was an accident. Like Jibo is like one of the most mild-mannered dudes out there. Like he's not going to go walk in Rose's line. He's not trying to pull a La Cava.
Yeah.
Like
I'm watching live from right now. Thomas Bjorn looks like he's 320 pounds.
he's a burly boy. So that's where Rose, again, I'll excuse anyone in the heat of competition for this, but like there's no, unless something earlier happened in the match that we don't know about, there's 0.0% chance that Jibo was trying to insert himself into that situation.
But also, like, it's a massive spot, and Rose is in his process, and
he didn't
then
see that. That's the whole point. Like, he
he's
probably
up.
apologized. I don't know. We don't know what was said or what happened. Like, that's where I'm at. But like,
What-
if it was the Kava, I'd be really suspicious right now.
And then Bryson trying to go up, like get in Tommy's
what we did
face.
see.
I'm like, you think Tom, and then you know, of course, NBC cuts away from it right in time for Bryson to get in Tommy's face. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, and then Finno gets up and tries to diffuse the situation, but also like, hey, you know what? If you want to talk about this, like, we can talk about this, because like I would love to see Finno just cool. You know what? Teddy and Finno octagon, like, let's go, man. Let's go, baby.
Joe Bill had my favorite tweet of the day. It was like, I want to make sure I get it verbatim here. He said, of all the terrible U.S. decisions this week, trying to pick a fight with Finno might be the dumbest.
Yeah.
It's pretty on
talk
par
about
with the rest.
dog mentality. Like Finno's like the guy, and also I think Finno's pretty Finno's got a pretty good sense of like what's going on, and he's not going to pick a fight. Like he's a guy that's going to end a fight. He's never gonna like put his finger in somebody's chest. He's just going to have somebody's back.
I
think that's where like he's going to end the fight.
What I could hear of the broadcast, and of course what I could understand of Finno, was that he seemed like the guy trying to calm it all down.
Yeah.
Bryson, again, from afar,
And
Bryson was a guy that looked like he was
Bryson's a fucking idiot.
stoking the flames. And that, again, maybe that was like
we saw Bryson's true colors today.
Maybe that was we're trying to get some juice here. We're trying to, we're trying to get the crowd on our side. If I'm
You're
squinting,
3 down, big dog.
I think, again, from watching on TV, I saw Scotty as a little bit of just like, yo, I'm going to hang back. Like, leave me the fuck out of this, man.
But also, is that a spot where Scotty needs to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to stick my neck in here and be a leader instead of just hanging back?
Well, can we transition to that, TC? Because
yeah,
this is again where like you can pull on a lot of threads to place blame is the wrong word here, but like somebody's got to, if you want Scotty to be a leader of this team, somebody's got to bring that out of him, because he's clearly not volunteering for that role, right? Like somebody has inspired Rory along the way to be the very clear leader for Team Europe. He will do anything. He'll play with anyone.
I don't think anybody has to inspire Rory. I think Rory and Rom want to be those dudes, and then
because of the culture of Team Europe.
I will push back on that big time. He called it an exhibition.
He literally
didn't care about it.
Yeah, it will not be fist pumping.
Something flipped.
He went to that team room. He saw how other people treated this event, the reverence they had for it, the culture they had. They fostered a community of people where people like literally. Like their whole thing is if you've never played in a Ryder Cup, like their thing that they did at Whistling Straits, it didn't work out great, but their whole thing was like, blah, blah, blah. You are number 131. You're the 131st person to ever play in a Ryder Cup. We're going to make you feel like a fucking lion when you go out.
Not the 132 of the 130.
Correct.
132.
So listen,
132 is going to last for a long time.
Does the U.S. have that? No. Like, and does the U.S. like in 2021? Did they have a massively talented team?
Max is a guy like that, or Burns. Like you could tell me, like Burns should, but like Burns isn't that guy, right? It just doesn't like. There's not a single guy on that team other than JT who's self-appointed himself in that role, who is that guy.
But I don't even know if JT is like he's
JT's
the guy that's going to encourage he's going to encourage the crowd.
He's Woj.
But I don't know if he's holding people accountable. I don't know that. I don't know this to be true.
I don't think anybody's accountable to anything.
Anything. I think it's like, and that's
not
where
only
like
are they not accountable. I think it's gotten worse since like the task force. I think the task force stuff, but seemingly was just like, man, we really don't want to be accountable. Please just make this easy for us. Please just let us show up and play golf, and we don't want to have to worry about it.
Two rules. I think if you haven't been on a winning U.S. Ryder Cup team, you're off the team, and if you live in Sea Island, you're off the team.
Need not
Those
apply.
2 rules. Don't apply.
What about JT Poston?
Let's get it. Well,
carve out.
Yeah, so you're off. I'm sorry. He's one of my favorite players in the world. I'm sorry, but like Luke Clanton, Jackson Coyven, A, welcome to the squad. B, don't move to Sea Island.
Yeah, The stakes are too high.
Big U.S. development that needs to happen between now and Adair Manor, which they're not going to win in Adair Manor. It doesn't really matter. But like, again, I said this before the week started, was like, you've got to have like your 2 through 4. Who are your 2 through 4 right now? I mean, it was supposed to be Morikawa, JT, Speed.
Scotty was one. No, you were saying Morikawa is going to be their 2?
No. I'm saying like, look at like how this was progressing as of several years ago. The
as
guys
of
that
like
were
a year or 2 ago. Yeah.
Like longer back than that. Like if you go back 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it would be, like JT, Spieth, Morikawa, these guys were supposed to be like the U.S. stars. And they've been that for a short period of time, but have all clearly regressed. Like, so who are they? Like there's not a path forward without like some lions, some great men to go up against these other great men. I mean, like Rose is still there, but take like 2014-ish time period. Like G-Mac, Rory again still there. Stenson, Rose, who am I forgetting? Poulter. Like the core guys they had then, they've now replicated a decade later in a different group.
Also,
and the U.S. doesn't have that.
Yeah, but like, all right, they've replicated those guys, but like, how did they replicate them? You got Fleetwood, you got Hatton, like some dudes are just dudes.
They've developed.
Some dudes aren't, right? But like you say, like they developed them. I don't know that like there's something there that like they're not going through some training camp that is like, hey, you know what? Like we're gonna develop these guys.
I think the difference is like those comps to the guys that you would just say would be Xander, Cantlay. I don't know.
I mean,
like Max should have been one of those guys.
Max should be one, right?
Sam Burns should be one of those guys. Yeah. And like, cause they play similar golf.
You should be so disappointed in Sam Burns
throughout the course of the year. And the difference is that those guys, when they get to this event, like flip the switch, and our guys don't.
The whole point. Cause like, is Tommy Fleetwood a better golfer than Scotty Scheffler? No. Is John Rahm a better golfer than Scotty Scheffler? No. Is Rory McIlroy a better golfer than Scotty? No. But like, why in this event, like, would I take those 3 guys over that one? Like, that's what I mean by develop. Like, they have made them.
Part of it too is it like what kind of golf are you talking about? Talking about stroke play golf? You're talking about match play golf? Because they're 2 different kinds of golf, and Scott, like Tommy Fleetwood could very well be a better golfer than Xander Schauffele or whomever. I think Scotty's clearly better than everybody else, but maybe not by as much as we thought, because he's just playing a certain type of golf. Right. And I think, Sully, I think the guy that you should be most disappointed in is Sam Burns, because the fact that they didn't send him out this morning, especially after what Max said last night on our podcast about like, hey, Sam Burns is a dog. And like the fact that Morikawa didn't play foursomes. I think we would have seen that by now. Well, like Max thinks that, and Burns clearly, wasn't a dog during foursomes, but the fact that Morikawa didn't play both 4-ball sessions and Burns didn't play foursome sessions, that to me is crazy.
Morikawa, I mean, for what it's worth, Burns is the worst player in strokes gained so far out of the 24 players. Like I got no issue with him not going back out this morning. He's brought nothing to the table so far. I think like
why even send him out this afternoon?
I don't know if they had another guy. Yeah. And that's where like
Benjamin Boone.
Why not send Morikawa back out this afternoon? Just say,
on the Morikawa note, I was pro putting Morikawa on the team specifically because it felt like he could be a good foursomes player, because all of his issues have been with the putter. He, even over this period of struggle, he's been essentially like the third best iron player in the world and one of the top 10 from tee to green in the world. Yeah, that's how bad the putter's been. So my thinking was, if you could find a longer player to pair him with and exacerbate his iron skill and cover up some of those deficiencies, he brings you a tool to the table that you can use to your advantage to be competitive in foursomes matches. You literally paired him with like the statistically worst person you could have paired him with and neutered him. Like his golf, he's getting a lot of flack. His putter was really bad, but he like was the iron player that he was brought in to be. He's just not put in very good situations and didn't putt very well.
I love Harris. Like Harris is, I think Harris and Scotty would have been a great pairing. I think. I think Morikawa, like, all right, if you put a 9-iron in his hands instead of a 7-iron, there's an advantage there, right? And you put him with somebody like even Morikawa and Bryson, put them together, see what happens. I don't know.
Cam and
the fact that Cam didn't play the first session to me is like, that's almost disqualifying, to where I think Cam was, I think a lot of people thought he was the last guy on the team. I think Cam was like one of the core 6 guys on this US team.
He was almost like a pass fail. Either he's not going to be on the team at all, or if he
Or he's
is
gonna
on
be
the
the
team,
heart and
he's one
soul.
of the most important guys on your team with this setup in this venue and all
But that's
that
where
stuff.
but that's where I feel like if you know if that this is the venue, and obviously you don't know that it's
Totally.
this wet, then like why wouldn't you go with a Gotterup or somebody like that as well, to where like the guy's a dog and he's gonna drive the shit out of it and get it down there.
Yeah.
They again were in charge of like you could tweak it so that certain skills that you want to like if you want to do a Goddard up, then they could have
They're
made
inept
it
on both sides. I know
they could have made
it's
it a driving
crazy.
contest, right? Like you could have that was an option as well. Like they didn't.
But also
make it
like
a driving
Rory and
contest.
I would also like Ludwig would have been more important on that front.
Ludwig was
Rasmus would have been.
Ludwig's not
Yeah, he
been
was
good.
really stinky.
Yeah.
No, I know he hasn't. But also like if you make it a driving contest, Ludwig probably becomes a more primary character, right?
Yeah.
So I think Europe had certain characters or pieces, pawns to like move into certain spots if they would have made it a driving contest, or I don't know. I just they were prepared, man.
Extremely.
And I've talked like, I mean, Dodo and Luke, and they're just like it's truly been the continuation of a 3 or 4 year process. And I think that's the crazy part for the US is Europe won in Rome, and then they said, "Hey, we're going to keep going with this process." The US just like they're going to lose at home, and they're going to start anew on the road. What the fuck? Like, where the fuck do you go from there?
Not only that,
crazy.
Europe lost in historic fashion in Wisconsin, and
Yeah.
then stuck with the process. And like that's kind of
No,
the point of
I
the
wouldn't say
process.
they stuck with the because I don't think Podrick was necessarily,
But they also just didn't have the
process.
horses.
Yeah,
Like they were never going to win
the
that one.
dudes and all of that. But and Solly, like I feel like Whistling Straits, the US did set it up exactly how they wanted it
Amazingly.
to. What happened from there till now?
They brought in Keegan TC. They brought in a current player. Like they completely threw all of that out to try to go for vibes. They went Tom Watson on it. This is a Tom Watson move.
Of like we did, like he wasn't a current player and you didn't know what any of these guys were thinking. And
I think they were panicking. They didn't have a guy to go to, and they panicked and said, "We got."
Because it was supposed to be Phil. It was supposed to be Phil versus Poulter. This one was supposed to be Phil versus Poulter.
And the other option was Stu Sink, and they.
Why?
Or Tiger.
The other option.
They wanted Tiger.
Exactly.
And Tiger said no. And Tiger probably not even gonna show up tomorrow now because they're losing. And like Tiger probably doesn't want to show his face tomorrow. But
I don't think he was gonna show up either way. I don't think that was I think he's kind of I don't know why.
I just don't know. Like, so at some point, all right, so now do you basically have to like completely say, all right, like we have no idea what we're doing, and we're gonna start from scratch going on the road at Adair Manor. We're gonna bring Coyven and Clinton.
That's exactly right. That's what they have to do,
and all of it. And they're not gonna, and they're never gonna do that because they're the most arrogant, smug, just like even the assistant captains. Like who from that assistant captains group, other than maybe Brant Snedeker, and like is bringing any sort of outside thinking into that, outside of what they've been thinking for the last 5 to 7 years.
So this goes back to, I wrote a piece after Rome about like, I'm an idiot, but here's my play or my playbook of what I think it should be. And the whole point, if you're going to try to steal the European model, which we've talked about a million times, and I don't think they actually can, because they're fundamentally different people who are not okay with a lot of the things that Europe is totally okay with doing. Yeah. My whole point was like, dude, the story needs to start over this time. And that's why I was so in on the Keegan stuff is, man, if you're going to create your own Sevi, or you're going to create your own, you know, Jose Maria Olazabal, you're going to create your own Sergio, you're going to create like these, try to recreate these lions in your laboratory. Like you don't have those guys, man, going back, and you have Tiger, who was historically stinky. You have Phil, who was meh. You have Tom Watson, who none of these guys know very well at all. You have like they try to do the right thing, bringing Larry Nelson in, which is nice, but like nobody knows who Larry Nelson is probably.
And Zinger's
some
not the
point-
answer.
And Zinger would be the best option probably, but he's not the answer either. So
That's past.
my
That's
point,
like the Euros bringing Faldo in.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Right.
there's like,
but my
so-
point, TC, was like they needed to start with Keegan. I think like that the most optimistic reading was like
almost
this
to
is the
rip
guy
the
that
Band-Aid
flipped it.
off.
Yes, this is the guy that flipped it. We started over. We started doing things the right way. We started listening to the numbers. We started like being smart about setup. We started doing all these things that they keep
And
doing.
Keegan wasn't even smart enough to do that.
And I don't think they did that. And so now I'm like, so to your point, like, do they need to rip the Band-Aid off and keep doing a bunch of things differently? Probably. What's going to
But like,
like,
which direction do
actually-
you actually go?
what's going to actually happen is they're going to be like, yeah, he fucking made a lot of putts, man. Nothing you can do about that.
100%.
Yeah.
Anyways, on to Rome or on to whatever
That's-
there.
And I think that's where, I mean, maybe there's a certain thing where maybe Europe got lucky where Sergio, Westwood,
Stenson
Stenson, like those
was
guys.
the captain.
I tend to think Stenson would have probably been a pretty good captain.
I feel like he would have delegated.
But
I
all
think he
those
would've been
things,
fine,
all of
but-
those things to say, like, I don't think that you know those guys weren't going to deviate from the plan. It seems like there's a culture there, and you want to talk about ego. Rory and Rahm have like the two biggest egos of anybody in golf, probably, right? But like probably bigger than anybody on the U.S. side. It's like
Bryson.
Scotty's ego is. I mean, yeah. Setting aside Bryson, because I think Bryson is like, what does that team room look like on the U.S. side as well? You have Bryson who like can't really act like a human being, and then you have like, you know, nice guys, but guys like Ben Griffin, JJ Spawn, just like Sam Burns, just like quiet, nice guys. And like there's nobody that's going to take charge of that, and there's
Right.
no core, right? There's no core at all. It's just, hey, you know what? Let's play fucking good tomorrow.
Well, and
and
I
send it
think-
out there.
On that point, like I think Max is a very good example. Obviously, we're very close to the situation, but Max has been the only bright spot as far as a core over the last 3 team events. Even at the President's Cup when he wasn't playing well, he showed up and found it. Right. And what would happen if Max was a European is he would have been in the conversation the whole time, even though he wasn't playing well.
And they would have set him up for success,
And he would have been
and
asked about
basically,
Yeah.
And
Here's your
honestly,
role.
they would have told the media, been like, hey, you know what? If Max plays well here at the BMW Championship, we have eyes on him, and if Max plays well, like they would have built him up and said, you know what? Like if Max can make the BMW Championship, he is in this thing. And Max didn't make the BMW Championship, but just laying out like the steps needed. I mean, Fitz is a perfect example of that. Like Fitz has been like Fitz played his way onto this team and then is playing legitimately great golf once he's on this team as well. Like he's just, and Sully, I'm not sure if the stats back that up, but like Fitz is
playing great.
like, I mean, Fitz is, he's gone from being a liability to like wants the ball and is going to play well with the ball and close out the game.
Cody, what do you got? Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, go ahead, Sully.
I'm very cautious to use a trope this broad, but like they just want it more is factual here, and it's not about just like energy and being more pumped up. It's like Europe is very clearly willing to do all the things that are necessary to win as a cohesive group and play specific roles, be as prepared as possible for the moment when it comes. Scotty Scheffler has been shitting down his leg in this event, and Tommy Fleetwood makes every putt he looks at. And like these two people approach this event very differently. Like I've never heard Scotty say a single word about how much he cares about the other guys in the team room, about succeeding in this event. And you hear
is that a Tiger thing?
It is,
right? Like Tiger, same thing.
Entire culture, like it does all go back to Sevi. I hate, as much as I hate to say it,
The great man, Sevi.
The great man. It goes back to it, and that's like why I talk about it so much. I think it's one of the coolest and most interesting stories in all of sports. Because like, yeah, there's great teams in other, in World Cups and in football, basketball, but like those are teams all the time. This is a team event like 1 week every 2 years. in an individual sport the other 101 weeks, except for the Hero Cup or whatever they play. I know
Formerly the
Sevi Cup, the Sevi Cup. But the fact that they've been able to create a culture to make that week that important to all of these guys that don't get paid for it and make hundreds of millions of dollars, some of them in other parts of this game, yet be this cohesive of a team and beat a more talented on paper group of individuals consistently. It's one of the coolest stories in sports. It really is. And they deserve a ton of credit. We love to blame the Americans for all of it. It is just a really impressive cultural thing that we've seen over the course of 4 decades almost now of how much success they've had in this event.
Sully, I just wish you would give a little bit of that energy into it in the lead up in the 6 to 8 months inwards.
I just did a whole podcast about the European culture.
No, I know, but
this
but
is
on
crazy.
but on our pods of just but like of the strokes gained and this and that, and like at some at some point it's just, hey man, like they've got it. They know what they're doing, and there's something there that you just trust this group of guys. You trust Dodo, you trust Bjorn, you trust Luke, and I think at some point, like, you have short shrifted them a little bit as far as like, oh yeah, like this Euro team's getting blown out on paper, and like I don't know how this thing's going to be close, or like, you know what?
He hasn't said that in the last 6 years.
Never said that.
6 years ago, maybe, but that is not his.
No, you ain't gonna get away with it. Not gonna do it. And I think honestly, like if this was a road game, I would have picked Europe 100% with these two teams, 100%.
Well,
I
so
thought
that's
the home
the
field
other
advantage.
thing.
I thought the home field advantage. I did not think the U.S. was capable of blowing the home field advantage this time.
Yeah.
That,
So let's get to
that.
that. What's the home, like, where has it really,
I got
beyond the course setup?
I got a transition here.
Okay.
Because the home field advantage involves the next guy that we're bringing in, which is our guy Neil Schuster, who's been waiting in the wings. He's ready to come talk about that home field advantage that Tron was referencing, which is the Strong Island folks out there just ready to go, ready to cheer on their boys.
Greetings.
Hey Neil.
Hey,
greetings, man.
Jay.
How are you?
He didn't hear any of that, so he.
I know. We were just talking a little. Tron was talking home field advantage, and he said, well, let's talk about it. What was the home field advantage? I said, Neil's had a front row seat to the home field advantage today.
Oh man, Team Europe had people just laying down on 17, literally prostrate. A true Deej. I was talking about a picnic last night. It turned into a picnic. Not everybody as bad as this guy. That's not on 17, but just a lot, like just sucking, like Death Eater stuff, sucking the life out of the United States of American fans. It got pretty hostile out there, and kind of on the front nine, but the scoreboard all day just blew. It just beat people down. And so I spent the match. I'll start here. The match, I followed in the afternoon, all 4 matches for at least a hole. And the one with Rory out front, it was very smart of Donald and the co-captain or the vice captains to send him out first. He sucked up all the juice. He almost wore out the fans, and there wasn't much left. Like that little kerfluffle I watched on silent TV between Fleetwood and Bryson and Rose. I don't really know what happened. It was like a silent movie.
It was disgusting. It was
sweet to watch, like a silent movie.
Disgusting.
That was I spent 3 or 4 holes with that group. Not a lot of energy. Some really nasty stuff coming Rory's way. Just the electricity, just high voltage stuff coming out of that group. And then the other 3 would come through. And I think by the end, I don't think many people were following the Hatton Cantlay stuff. I mean, just not a lot of personality in those last 2 groups. So,
were people like defeated? Were they lashing out? Was it
nobody was lashing out at the U.S. team. Like they didn't turn on the U.S. team. There was,
but even Rory, was it
hope?
Was it fuck you, Rory, or was it
very directly,
jokes, or just
very directly? A lot of fuck you, Rory, like very loud and clearly, just over dead silence. A lot of marital stuff, a lot of Balionis stuff. Cool. The 6th green, the 7th green, 8 and 11. 11 got pretty hostile from that grandstand.
You were with them the whole way?
I was with him on 1 and 2, well 2, and then I picked him up on 6 and till 14, because literally it was like the whole property was, unless you were just hanging, like it was basically people were camped out waiting for that first group to come through, and then as they passed through, the energy just fell off and off and off, and it was just a big wave at first. And those
that was the last line of defense.
I am so impressed with Rory. I swear. I mean, he was tired, worn out, just getting shit dumped on him from hole 1 to hole 18. And shout out to Lowry too. They walked together on pretty much every hole. Lowry rarely left his side. He's like his bodyguard. And he made a couple big putts for him on the front. He made a few mistakes on the back. Lowry didn't play great, but enough to get it done. And Rory just came through big time in those final, that swing on 14 when Rory made that putt and JT missed the 5 or 6 footer, that vicious lip out on 14. That 14th hole was ready to combust if JT makes that putt. And that sucked the life out of the day. That was kind of like the last gasp, like, oh man, it just didn't feel the same after that. And then, JT comes back, he makes one on 15, but it didn't really matter.
I'll say, like, what you're describing there, if I'm Rory, I am furious with the PGA of America overall. Like, you asked for this. Like, the whole thing was like, oh my God, Bethpage is going to be crazy. Like, you chose this venue because the fans were going to be crazy in this, and you didn't have the proper protection in place. You didn't have the steps in place to prevent this behavior before it got out of hand.
It's not even good crazy either.
No,
it's
I'll
just
say
like
this.
churlish.
Let me jump in there because I was
crazy.
there to witness it. It was really, some of it was, it wasn't funny. It wasn't fun. It was interesting. It's interesting to see what people do in a crowd. Same thing on the internet.
It's almost like baseline human nature.
Yeah,
right?
and there's
really
I wouldn't
level.
blame. I thought the police did a good job. I mean, I saw 4 people get kicked out.
Lowry walked right up to one of them, right?
Yeah,
And
Lowry
said,
walked up to a
"Hey,
guy on
you're outta
6 and a guy on 7. Get this clown out of here. Guy did a throaty fuck you on coming down the hill on 8. Cops walked right over to him, and it's just like, you, like, see him, And so there were a lot of state police, handling business, and it's just, it's just a lot of people, and it's Strong Island. I don't know what to say. I wouldn't pin that on the PGA of America. I don't think
They
you can
picked the venue. That's what I'm saying.
I know, but I don't think you can. I don't think.
Yeah, but also you can be a lot more prepared for it. As well.
Yeah, you know it's going to happen. None of this happened in Rome.
Here's a good little tidbit. They kept
but also
flashing
Rome,
up the
Rome isn't Long Island.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
Long Island's a bunch of
hold
fucking
on.
morons.
They kept flashing up
Truly.
the fan etiquette paragraph on the big screens, and it just got very loud boos, like over boo, which I kind of thought was funny. They lost contain a little bit. But what do you expect? These people wait all day. They got nothing to cheer for.
So that's the thing.
I had to scream.
You go to
"Fuck
a
you,
Ryder
Rory."
Cup. There's
Not my fault.
I think the
I
Ryder
didn't mean
Cup,
like that, but
I'm kidding.
touche.
I think the Ryder Cup is the worst sporting event to spend money on to go to as a fan of. Like, you don't see any golf. You end up watching it on the big screen, and you're sitting there all day. You're drinking. They come by twice, unless you want to jostle for position or whatever, and then you're exhausted, and even then you might not see anything.
Can I say this though?
Before you do, Neil, I
Yeah.
got to get this in. I feel like we're talking about kicking fans out. We're talking about ridding the property. I think this is a good chance to hear from our friends at Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Data brokers make a profit off your data. Your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing, all kinds of harassment, but now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. Guys, I've lived in I don't know how many, think about how many places you've lived. Every time I get one of these Delete Me reports, it's like addresses I forget I even lived at. There's just all kinds of old stuff lingering out there on all kinds of weird websites. You got to get in there and just clean that stuff up a little bit. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/NLU. Joindeleteme.com/NLU. Use promo code NLU at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/NLU and enter code NLU at checkout. Again, joindeleteme.com/NLU, code NLU. Sorry, Neil, you were saying.
Deej, hold on, Deej. I signed myself up for this and I didn't sign my wife up for it. My spam calls have gone down demonstrably.
Yeah.
Hers have not.
She's probably getting lit up still.
Yeah.
Hate it.
Neil, floor is yours.
Well, I would say on the flip side of that, I spent the end of my day in the grandstand directly behind the 18th hole as the last match finished, and it was a just mass exodus from the beat down at Bethpage. I true, like, where were you day? I feel like in Ryder Cup lore. I'll let the historian over here tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that was just a historic beatdown. European fans chuffed. Just going deep into the Rolodex because they're all together. Fitzy, Team Rose, the great men, just egging them on. It was fantastic, and I appreciate the way the European fans act in a crowd, like collectively. I'm sure you'd probably see some hooligan stuff at a football match across the pond, but it was joy, man. I feel like on the flip side of what U.S. fans were feeling and lashing out, it was just joy for Europeans. They stayed till the bitter end. It was just a sea of blue at Bethpage Black to finish the day as the sun was going down.
It just had to be one of the bleakest, honestly, days of Ryder Cup, like modern Ryder Cup history, in terms of score and just like the vibe out there. Like, it doesn't you can't bottom out much harder.
Black Saturday.
I'll give you a very specific scene where I feel like another early in the day where energy got sucked out of the property. I was standing behind the 17th green for about an hour as matches were coming into 15. Just set up shop, good spot, out with the people. Got a lot of a mix of European and U.S. fans out there. Good view of the big screen. When Colin Morikawa missed the putt on 16 and lost the match, it's like, oh wait, we've waited here how long? Now that means that we're only gonna, like, there's no golf here except like maybe we get one match that comes through, and it just you can just
probably camp out on 6 or 7 or 8.
Well, I know, but 17 is the arena, and it's so striking. There's so many people. That's
not
where
the right place to build the arena.
I know, but it's I'm just talking about the collective frustration. You just feel it immediately. And I don't know what the stats would say, but I feel like Colin specifically missed putts like that both days. And that one was just one where it was like, God, dude, just get it done. So, like, just for the entertainment value. And that kind of set the tone. It was like, there was no big, even the match before when Fleetwood and Rory closed them out on 16. They the U.S. when the U.S. team closed out, was it Rory and who'd they close out?
This morning?
This morning.
It was Ludwig.
English and Morikawa. Yeah, Rory and Fleetwood closed out Morikawa.
And then Ludwig and
wait, a U.S. team that won?
U.S. team won.
That was Bryson and Cam.
Bryson
Young
and Cam
Ludwig.
beat Ludwig and
on 16 as well, and they conceded the putt, so they didn't even give the U.S. a chance to have a moment.
Celebrate.
You know what I mean? Like, there was even that crowd there. I heard some people be like, "Oh, that sucks. They just gave it to him." Like, we didn't even get to like get hyped. And
but then JT would have been pissed if they didn't give it to him. So it's kind of a tough
I know, but I'm
scene.
talking more from a crowd standpoint, and that energy just kind of builds all day, and it's like a pressure cooker. And the U.S. just didn't have. Like Cam Young and JT did. I thought they played really well. They got beat, and again shout out to in the afternoon. Shout out to Rory and Rose and Fleetwood. They just straight up beat that ass, man. They beat that ass, and it was really impressive.
Solid question for you, real quick. I think if there's a do-over on the U.S. side, I think if Xander's one of your best 6 players, which I think he is, I think you have to, like, after you get boat race 3-1 in the morning session on Friday, I think you got to send Xander back out on Friday afternoon.
I think they probably, with how many guys they had to pull off the bench, and knowing they're going to pull 4 guys off the bench, you're going to play everybody day one. Probably
You
already
have to
had
play everybody day one.
Yeah, you got to find out what you've got with everyone, because then that's where you can get second guessed if you hold, you're probably holding somebody all the way out till the second session on Saturday. If that person goes out and balls, you're like, I didn't know I had that going and I left it on the bench. That's where you.
Well, I feel like that's where the Cam Young, like having Cam Young on the bench in the morning, that's where that plays in as well.
Yeah, I mean, Cam played 3 team matches. I think sitting 1 session was a realistic expectation for Cam. I mean, granted, the first one went horribly and it felt like too late by the time he came in, but I don't know if you're coming into that week thinking there's a chance that Cam Young's playing all 5 matches.
I just think at some point they need to send they need to put their best foot forward on Friday, especially if they're going to play the eye test shit, and then figure it out from there. And I feel like Keegan tried to play the long game, but also got cute with it. And it was
like
he
tried to play the vibe game on Friday morning, like Bryson.
It was like the first hole, and then like even beyond the first hole, like what's going to happen beyond the first hole? We don't know, but it doesn't matter because we won the vibes on the first tee.
Speaking of putting your best foot forward, Cody, pop back in. We do have singles. Usually this is a much more fun exercise on a Saturday night. At first I was like, oh, cool, we got single. And I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. But I do want to know, I guess basically the only question is, do you have some hype music there, Cody?
Is that Pavarotti?
The only question, I guess, is I guess Europe probably just front loads it and ends it early.
When do you not front load it? I've never understood that. Like everybody,
you want a little bit of a firewall in like 8 or 9. I think.
And again, they have to win 2.5. Is that right?
to retain.
Retain in the USA.
Let's see.
We got the shirts already.
We do have the shirts. I believe those are
Neil, will you tell that story?
I mean, yeah, I made Ryder Cup gear, and you can't,
not officially Ryder Cup gear.
Yeah, you can't say Ryder Cup.
It was for the big match.
I made big match gear.
Cup.
I made cup gear, and I put retained in the USA as the slogan because it sounded like words you would use for the big match. But
the US did not have the cup, so they could not retain it.
So they technically, but they would be keeping it in the USA. They would be retaining. They wouldn't let it leave the country.
So not detaining it.
All right, gentlemen.
Let's figure out who we got.
I'm going to lead off here with Captain Keegan Bradley. If you were,
he's playing.
You got to set. No.
He's in the envelope.
You got to set the stage. I will say this: the envelope rule is not being.
Is there an envelope?
No.
Yeah.
So Victor's playing. Okay.
Correct. If you are Captain Keegan, who are you sending out first?
I got this joke off on Twitter, but I'm gonna get it off here as well. Got to go alt shot pairing of Morikawa and Harris English off the jump. That's your strong. That's your strongest. That's the strongest play.
I'm gonna send JT out first. Get the vibe up.
That's probably right. Now Bryson for sure.
Yeah, I would send Bryson out first.
Perfect, representing the great state of New York. Cam Young.
Yeah, that's
okay.
I mean, from a golf perspective, that's great, but we're losing the vibes. We're one down.
Should have been there Friday morning.
Super cool that he sent him out Friday morning at some point, right?
All right, Cam Young, LD. Who do you think he's sending out first?
He is going to be playing against Tommy Fleetwood.
John Rahm.
Yeah,
he's going to send somebody that didn't play 4 matches, 4 team sessions. I bet.
Rose.
Hold on. Yeah, but I bet it's who didn't?
This is Dodo cooking right here. Did he send out a sacrificial lamb and just say Sep?
There are no sacrificial lambs.
Some would say he's a great man.
Rose.
That's right. Team Rose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
That's so
Match
sick.
number 2, Luke Donald.
I would send out Rahm.
Yeah.
Tommy.
That's close enough.
We'll go Keegan. I'm just gonna fire this out there. We have JT. It was a lot of picks for JT to be the first match. He's going out number 2.
Fuck
Tommy versus JT.
That's really good.
Match number 3, Keegan elects to send out. Any good guesses here?
Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah.
Not the best player in the world. Definitely Bryson DeChambeau is going out in match number 3
against Rory. That's Rory.
Matt Fitzpatrick, very close, but almost got it there. Match 4, Luke Donald selects.
That's Rory.
Isn't
Rory,
a great
Matt
man.
Roy.
Yeah. Because that's the whole thing. They're like, oh, they think we're going to put him 3. They think we're going to put him. No, we're not doing either of those. It's like that, but they're going to put him 4.
Okay.
Keegan countered with
Scotty.
Scott. We have Rory versus Scotty.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, some of it, that's just like, I do want to see who's got a
Yeah.
spine.
For sure.
You know, who's going to grab their sack tomorrow on the U.S.
Rory's
side?
fucking. I mean, Scotty's probably exhausted after losing all week, but Rory's exhausted after getting defiled all week by.
They need to like threaten to put these guys in
people.
the like college football film room on tomorrow. Like we're gonna put the laser pointer on you and like.
You know, I was saying earlier,
run it
I think
back.
I think Gruden might need.
That's
might
what I'm
need to be
saying.
the next U.S. captain. Gruden.
We might have to go out of what if they did that? Go out of golf for the captain.
Total
Man,
wolf.
Everything should be on the table. After
I
tomorrow.
totally agree.
We'll visit that tomorrow.
Next up for the U.S., Cody.
Steve Stricker's coming back in.
So far for the U.S., we have Cam Young, Justin Thomas, Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler. Who do you think else? You know,
Xander's going on
they gotta
next.
lead him up there.
JJ Spawn.
Cantlay.
Cantlay is
Xander.
correct.
Okay.
Wow.
Patrick Cantlay, match number 5, going up against who for
Shane
Team
Lowry.
Rom.
Is Rom?
Rom.
Yeah, it's probably Rom.
Ludwig, very close.
Okay.
Match 6, Rom. You guys were close on that one. So match
Xander.
6 is going to be John Rom versus very good Neil Xander Schauffele.
That's
Okay,
fun.
that's a really good match.
Yeah.
Is it?
Match-
Rom's gonna wipe the floor with them.
Rom could be tired.
Oh,
You
I
don't
think. I mean, Rom's gonna be tired. Xander's only played 3.
He played 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not been good.
Match
Who-
number 7. For the
Who goes
US.
first? U.S. That's got to be JJ Spawn.
JJ Spawn is correct. Very good, Deej.
He's going to be going up against.
Rasmus.
I would say, is it Rasmus?
It is not. It's the great man from Valdosta, Sepp Straka.
Tap.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna put the firewall.
Probably not going to be a
late, the
ton.
late
Of,
firewall.
I don't know if Spawn versus Sepp is going to have a ton
It's a
of
good matinee.
fans,
man.
That's for
but
the-
that's fun.
That's for the
Fun.
sickos. That's like the
Yeah.
Friday night whack game.
Exactly.
Hatton hasn't gone
that's
yet,
like,
right?
That's like Wednesday
Correct.
night
Yeah,
action. Yeah.
Match number 8, Luke
We got
Donald.
Hovland left.
Lowry,
Yeah,
probably
Lowry.
Bob.
God, Europe's good. They're gonna fucking kill. They're gonna win.
Match number 8. It's going to be
Bob.
Shane Lowry.
Okay.
okay.
Against
Any-
Russell Henley.
Very good, Russ Henley. Deej.
How about that?
Match
The
number
best I've ever done
9.
in this game.
He's looking at
I'm
him.
not. No, I'm looking at the.
I
I'm
can
just
see
looking
it
at
in
the
your
teams.
eyes.
I'm looking at the teams.
All right,
I'll
match
prove it
number
to you
9,
that
US.
I'll prove it to you that I'm not cheating.
We believe you.
Hovland.
Okay, that's the
Yes.
European team, and that's not
Oh, sorry.
Hovland yet.
Okay. There you go.
Any other guesses for the U.S.?
Ben,
Big,
Harris?
Big Bob.
Big Ben or Benny? What is it? Benny Booms?
Benjamin
Booms.
Booms against
Yeah.
against Big Shot Bob.
Nope, against Rasmus.
Okay.
Ooh, I like that. That's fun. That's fun.
3
I-
matches.
I mean, it's gonna be
remaining.
done by the time. Like, how much pride are these guys gonna take by the time?
Yeah.
It
It
gets.
might not even tee off.
11,
It's gonna be
15.
that's where it's gonna be a weird vibe. There's
Well, it is for charity, TC. So I hope they finish all their matches. Get everybody a good show.
So who we got
Match
left?
number 10.
charity or the FanDuel Sports.
We haven't heard.
Are good partners.
Who do we have left? No, not Henley. He just went. Sam
got
Burns,
Colin.
Morikawa, and
Morikawa.
Harris left.
Harris.
Yes, Harris.
So probably Harris.
Colin Morikawa, match number 10. You have the
Yeah.
remaining names: Big Bob, Vic, and Hatton.
Hatton.
I'll say Vic.
No, I'm putting Hatton out last.
Yeah.
I'm putting Vic or Bob out. Bob.
Okay, match number 10, Colin Morikawa versus Terrell Hatton.
Really?
Match number
I was with you.
11.
So it's either Harris or
Hovland.
Burns.
Burns.
Match number 11 is Sam Burns versus Big Bob McIntyre.
Hovland
Okay.
last.
So
Hovland, of course, still who knows
My
what
neck.
happens there.
My back.
Might have points on the board before he even tees off.
Hovland versus
Victor
Harris English.
versus HE. Yep. Solly, anything? I'll pull these up on the screen so you guys can actually look at them. But
I'm saying that was so hard to follow on what the matches actually are. There's so many names just shouted out.
All right, so we got. Do
anything?
we have
No.
odds yet on these matches?
Oh, I'll go pull that tab next.
And how do they do odds if they know that there's not going to be anything to play for?
Mm.
They
Other
assume
than
you'll
pride.
play for pride. I think there's.
Okay, so they assume.
Cap
that?
Gemini is on.
Oh, Cap Gemini has been on point the last couple of days. Also, Keegan's presser's going on right now. He's got this defensive crouch, and he's it just doesn't look like it's going well.
It's
I'll be
not.
honest.
It's going historically poorly. TC.
Solly, why aren't you there? I want you there tomorrow night to speak truth to power, both Keegan and the United States of America, PGA of America.
I don't even know where to point the blame. Like, Seth
How would
Law
you fix
decided.
it? Yeah.
I mean, you need
Task force.
a couple task forces, I think.
Get the band back together.
You know what? I would fix it. I would put a clawback in that stipend.
Wow.
From the charities.
Yeah, all of it. Like you're gonna, you're gonna hurt the kids. Like if you guys embarrass us, we're clawing the money back. That might teach the U.S. something.
But Neil, they didn't tell you where they
up.
were. They didn't tell you, other than Sam Burns. Who props to Sam Burns. None of the other guys told you where the money was going. We don't even know. It could be
hard to miss that early.
The money could be. The money could be 4 steps down the line. You can't claw it back.
Again, just another example of the fucking embarrassment that this regime that we're currently living in, that they can't even handle that.
Yeah, Cody.
And they let 6 months worth of Keegan being a playing captain that should be fucking playing right now continue, instead of just being like, guys, I've said it already. Do you want me to say it every single time? I'm not picking myself. Okay, moving on. This is what we're doing for our team.
Hell yeah.
But no, like it's just, people ask, this thing was lost before we even got here. Like they're if you look at all the steps along the road, there's so many I's and me's. At no point in time,
there was no interview process for this role. They just like selected him, and like that's where I feel bad for Keegan. Like there was no, like I hated everything.
We're in the feeling bad for Keegan part of the program.
I hated everything he said in the process, because like he would not have won an interview about this, because he was me throughout the whole. But he's not supposed to be the cat. Like, he's not supposed to be in this spot.
Who should have been the captain?
I don't know if there's a good. That's why we ended up with Keegan, is there's not a good answer to that question. But like,
and there's still not really one. Like, what are you looking at right now? Like Cooch. Like
Jason
again,
Garrett?
in that generation, like what are you? It's kind of bleak, man. You got Kisner, like some of these vice captains. Webb.
He's a clown.
I'm saying, but who? If you look at the guys in that 40 to 50
Dan
year
Hicks
old,
called him the modern day Freddie Couples. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah,
like I'm just naming names that I think are on that like short list, and none of them are super inspiring.
I think, Solly, this kind of this brings up another Twitter question that I like from Kyle. You still want to do this every year? There's every other year. There's every other year enough.
Oh, every year. Yeah. I would rather do this every year. It's great for
honestly,
content.
that would make it less, like, Solly, that kind of answers your question. It would make it less painful. And I think on that end, you don't want to do it every year. I think it's like the fact that you have to wait every 2 years to go across the ocean.
You gotta wait every 4 years to go across. So that's where I'm like, dude, it'd be fun if it was every. I know, but if it was every 2 years you had a home one, I think is what would make this fun. Like, there's just so much time in between, like home ones. Like
the only downside is the fact that they are allowed to stage the President's Cup.
I agree, TC. Is that like for some reason that makes everything so much better off or easier for the U.S. team, because they get I hate to say it, but like win.
But Cody, we have the Sevi Cup on the flip side.
Can I just say, I'd like to cop to something. It's a classic. This is a vintage. Everything becomes clear to me after the fact. I was really wrong. I really thought the U.S. was going to roll this week. I felt like it was a team without a lot of ego, and I thought I thought the crowd and the home field advantage, and
thank you.
I thought a lot of these boring guys were playing really good golf.
So much
and
humility.
I just don't think that I was right about that.
Don't kick yourself on that. It is so hard to have blown the home field advantage.
Guys, they went to Napa. They played nice for a week.
No, that's right, Cody. I was hoodwinked. I was sold. I feel like Steve Ballmer.
No one has ever done this.
You
were not. No one has ever blown the home field advantage like this.
I mean, Solly,
not only are they not going to win. I mean, this is a historic beatdown.
Imagine being a team of 7, 8, 9 countries and not even having a home field. and you have to come together and that sort of thing. And,
See,
and
shut up, TC.
those guys are forced to come together. And then on top of that, seriously speaking, I can't imagine the PGA Tour guys. Like, it's got to be such a weird thing for Bryson to just parachute in
and be the
be
hero.
like, oh, you know what? Like, we have, like, oh, like we play together every week, and we've been working on this stuff. And then Bryson just parachutes in and changes the energy completely 2 weeks prior. And that's not like,
Dude,
I
don't
that's
think
not
they are working on it every week, and I don't think
No,
they are
no.
eating together.
Well,
Like,
but you could argue that
there's nothing to
Rob and
blow
Hatton
up.
do the same
even,
thing.
I
on the
think
European
Bryson's
side.
still changing the energy, right?
So
TC, then what's the answer for Rahm and Hatton on the other side? Did they've been around longer? That they aren't as big of personalities?
No, they just give a fuck. I mean, they're just like,
Well, I mean, Bryson gives a fuck.
no, like I don't know. I imagine like Rahm and Rory are just like texting, or like they're just like friends, or they're like on the same page, or they're just acting like human beings together. Whereas like Bryson's just doing performative shit, and oh yeah, like I want to come in and win the Ryder Cup on top of these 3 breaking 50 things that I'm doing, and it's like, no, like these guys just want to be part of a team, and they understand that it's not about them. I think Bryson truly thinks it's still about him. You saw that yesterday when he walked with Ben Griffin to the first tee. It's still about Bryson.
You also, and we haven't mentioned it yet, saw that when they declined media. So him and Scotty.
Bad look.
afterwards, it
And
was
Scotty should have said, you know what? I will do media. Because Bryson, that's the first camera that Bryson has ever said no to.
So back to the original question of who's the next captain should be. I think it has to be a non-player
Hunter Mahan?
at this point.
Hunter Mahan?
I think it has to be I don't know if it's this person in particular, but someone of the John Wood mold of that has to be some
Wait a
sort of
second.
it.
isn't Woody a part of this situation
Didn't they already kind of
Would just love to flesh it out if you'll please allow me to flesh that out.
Well, I thought he was already part of the team, and did they totally just kind of
He is an assistant. He's something upon this team. I don't know what his role is. He's out there. He's got a headset on. I've seen him at times. I don't know exactly what his role is, but I think it's got to be somebody that, like, the players are so infected with how it's always been done that you need somebody that like actually understands. You have to create. So what like the international team has done with the shield, like you can laugh about that if you want to, but there's like just a symbol, a very clear symbol of like what you're playing for, right? It is Europe they don't have like the shield, but like the Team Europe clearly has an identity, and like it is different than like just the identity of being European. Team USA is just like about being an American and waving the flag and running out there and trying to win without a real like actual real plan, real synergy, real symbol of any kind, right? And there's no continuity from the teams. There's no system in place. There's no connectivity to prior teams. There shouldn't be because they lose as much as they do. You need somebody to tear that from the jump, tear that up, and that person's going to need to identify whoever the player leader of the team is going to be, that is going to be in charge of orchestrating a culture. You can't directly copy what Europe has, but find the American way to make it so Scotty Scheffler doesn't turn into whatever this version of him is this week, and turn into the version that he needs to be, like what Tommy Fleetwood has been this week. Like the guy that is just from the jump, wants the ball, and is going to bury you with enthusiasm, excitement, wants the situation, is not fearing the situation. And again, if I'm drafting the top players right now for tomorrow to play a match, Scotty Scheffler is not going to be the guy. And we just spent 2 years glazing the guy on a week in, week out basis. That speaks to
sounds like Tiger or Phil.
What the European team has been able to get out of their players in this event. And there's way, way too much information over the last 40 years to deny that anywhere. I'm not saying you guys do that, but
so
way
who's
still
the guy?
too many people.
Like, because it can't be like I think the John Wood thing is great, and the fact that like he was supposed to be more involved in this and he wasn't. You don't even know where John Wood is right now, and I think that's a problem as well. Like John Wood was supposed to be the guy tying a lot of this stuff together, and they've basically pushed him to the side and said, hey, like Keegan said, hey, like I'm in charge of this shit, and like you're not a part of this. Like that's part of the problem. So how do you how do you get it back on the rails? Like, who do you go talk to? Like, who actually controls who's the captain?
That's where I don't know the answer to that,
Yeah.
because I think like if you're the PGA of America, did you run this event? Did you set up this event with the goal in mind of winning it? Of course not. You set it up to sell the most tickets possible. You took it to Bethpage. You did this whole charade. You picked Keegan because of Netflix. I mean, that's essentially what happened here. Like, this was going to be a popular. They wanted him to
Chad Mumm be the captain.
They wanted him to be a playing captain in this event. Like, this was clearly not done with the goal of winning. So, like, I'm not, again, that's why I'm not mad at Keegan. I'm honestly not. I'm mad at whoever let him off the chain.
You gotta be mad at a little bit mad at Keegan.
I'm a little bit mad, but like, it's still not his fault. Like, but I don't know who to. It's kind of how I feel about TV coverage. I don't know who to be mad at. I just know I'm mad. I don't care, and it needs to get it. There's no point in being mad if I don't feel like anybody that's involved in any decisions is trying to win this thing, is actively trying to win it. Zinger talked about this back in the day too. Like, if you're trying to win this thing, you're not doing it right. They had it figured out there for a little while, or seemed to be, and they've reverted right back to like, yeah, you're not really trying to win this thing.
Solly, here's the deal.
I have two things. If
you gotta hold on, if you want to win this thing, Tiger needs to be the captain.
That was gonna be one of my things.
Period. Point blank.
And I think the reason he fits is because it has to be somebody who possesses two qualities, which is one, the players are already bought in and trust them and will follow them into whatever, and two, they don't have anything else going on. And that's the whole reason with Tiger this time was like, I'm working on this PGA Tour stuff, and I got all these deals going on, and I don't know if I want to be involved. But
he's doing golfballs.com commercials.
I think it's got to be somebody who's willing to sell out to the whole process the way Luke has, and as long as they're picking somebody who's kind of sort of playing, and I don't know, maybe I can stay competitively sharp. Like, you got to be somebody who is like keeping these guys on their toes constantly for 2 years about this thing.
What about
Phil? I would say Tiger embodies a lot of the problem, like a lot of the problems.
But I don't know who else.
Right?
Solly, what about Hunter Mahan?
That is the I cannot pretend to have 10 options here of 10 people I've talked to that I'm like really intrigued of how they've talked about it. I've talked to one, and it's Hunter Mahan, of just like, yeah, everything you've kind of said about this is pretty much exactly like, because he embodies what Phil was about with this.
He's and I think independent thinker.
And I think Phil, Sable Offshore and a lot of other things aside,
Representative Omar
would have been a really good captain. Potentially could have been a really good captain. He could have also just like overdone it, but like,
I still want to see Phil be a captain at some point. Like, he won the fucking PGA, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, which is insane.
And I do weirdly think, as much as
I think he will be
biggest ego in the history of the world, like, I also think he would sell into a lot of this stuff that we're talking about.
Maybe he will be in a dare manner. Maybe they're going to go way off the reservation again. Like, I can't pull over any farther.
I was thinking maybe MJ, but then you look at his GM record.
That they did.
But MJ's out. I'm like, man, they'd probably listen to him, but he's clearly not a great manager.
Guys, I think we should move to wrap. We got a lot we're going to still get to tomorrow. We're hitting the 90-minute mark. We got to not tucker ourselves out. We got another big show tomorrow here. I want to leave you with this question, because I think this sums up a lot of what we're talking about too. This is from Dill Pickleson. Why does America Neil, I'll throw this to you. Why does America continue to struggle in the Ryder Cup when they've had so much historical success and Capital One's the match?
Oh my God. Dollar signs, man. You know what they need to do? They need to put a big cash prize on the 18th, like in a glass box. And even if it's not going to the players, just get money on their minds. That seems
the PGA of America should just put out all of the cash, like the $120 million that they're raising from this, and just put it all there in a big block in the middle of the bunker or something.
Again, back to who the next guy should be. I honestly was pulling the string on it. I'm like, dude, I don't think this gets fixed until Roll App gets involved. Honestly, like somebody outside the PGA of America that comes in and actually cares enough to win it. But again, this is sports business more than it is, sports like championships. On one side.
That's the thing that I get to is like the with Roll App and with just generally speaking, like at what point, like the players are the product, right? And at what point do the players say, fuck this, man. Like we're done with this bullshit from the PGA of America, and both the venues of who knows what they'll do with Hazeltine. I know DL3 is redoing it. And I think the next one after that is it Olympic. and then congressional after that. But man, it's just it truly feels like they're paid actors instead of guys that have an invested stake in the business in the Ryder Cup. And that's a weird thing where on the flip side, I feel like the European Tour guys, even if they don't, truly have a stake in the business, I feel like Rory and Shane and Shane was talking about it yesterday. He was like we feel at home when we go back and play European Tour events because there's just a certain sense of like, all right, well, like, why don't you go play more of them?
Yeah, I don't want to pull on that string too much.
Yeah,
That was
no,
a
but
little-
yeah, that was weird, right? But I think at some point,
I think
at some point it's either I think the PGA Tour is either gonna, it's this center of gravity that's either gonna take over everything and own the entire sport, or I think things are gonna split apart and Live and the DP World Tour are gonna unite, and the PGA Tour is gonna be its own thing in the Western Hemisphere. And I'll be really interested to see how that plays out over the next, because I think that's Yasser's next play here is like, you know what, I'm done spending money on players. We're just going to do this with like, we're going to try to go after the entire league here.
properties.
On that note, I do want to just circle back on the Phil as captain thing. He's also captain of the High Flyers and has not led that team to much success. So
that would also be a conflict of interest because, like, I heard Brendan Steele was out there today.
He was. Brendan
Steele should be nowhere near the Ryder Cup. Brendan Steele's a fraud.
I saw it in the card. I was like, hey, that looks
clown.
like Brendan Steele. And then I saw his badge. I was like, oh, that is Brendan Steele.
Also want to call into question you saying Henrik Stenson would have been a great captain. He's one of 3 captains on the Majestics, and they finished 11th out of 13 teams in the Live Golf League. So
can I say what I would end it with is I am sincerely, there was so much joy in that grandstand, and for European fans that made the trip to come over here,
thank you,
and talk to a lot of them walking around, just bucket list coming to New York City and beating that Yankee ass. Like, good for them. I'm like, I hope they have a fucking awesome night, because like, what a memory that is for them. Like, God, you remember 20 years ago when we beat the shit out of the Americans at Bethpage Black and they all went home early? I mean, everybody left. It was just European fans.
All right, last question.
I just want to give them a shout out because that's awesome.
What's the vibe tomorrow? Is it like hostile
really
early?
turn on the U.S.
Is it
it was not hostile against the U.S.
Like tomorrow,
that's the thing. They didn't turn on them.
Tomorrow at 3 p.m. though. What's
TC? You know what it is? It's a ghost town at 3 p.m.
Everybody just leaves.
Yes, everybody will leave like they did today. Like, oh, this sucks. I'm out of here. Like, let's beat the traffic, because the traffic is a massive factor. And it's like, I got better things to do. It's
how
Sunday.
have the logistics been this week?
It's bottlenecks. A lot of it's one road in, one road out from the main gate. I think they're doing the best they can. I feel like the plan is good, but it just might be,
it's too big.
Too many people getting through.
The event is too big at this point.
There's so many frustrating situations from this week overall, and the keep pulling on the string that you keep pulling on. It's like, PGA of America's making a lot of money on it. Broadcast, massive amount. PGA of America sold the rights for a massive amount. Like, there's probably too many people there. Yeah, they're making a ton of money off that. It is one massive cash grab. Whereas, again, where I like tend to defend like the players getting a little piece of that for their charities is like, dude, it's kind of out.
I don't have a problem with the money to the players. It's more that they just don't know how to answer it.
It's a PR thing with the players. I think it's just more funny than anything. I think the biggest thing is, like the PGA of America, they're choking the sport off at the same time as they don't know how to support their own members. Like you talk to a lot of PGA of America members, like they're not getting any support from their member organization. And I think that is it's truly, like, you want to talk about a member organization that doesn't have their members at heart. It's PGA of America. It's a disgrace.
Well said, TC. Very well said. So guys, we're looking at a scoreboard here, 11.5 to 4.5. We went through pairings already. Where are they going to get, I think, ending number, and then
20.
where are we going to cross over the 14.5 divide
20. Bringing it to 20.
I think 20 is the goal.
I think that I think
I've
think they
spoken
set it
to
up
I've
for
spoken
Rory
to a
to have
couple
that.
of guys on the European side, and they said, "Hey, we're not letting our guard down. We're like, we're gonna go for the jugular." And so they're not celebrating tonight, and they've said, "Hey, like 20."
TC, based on like what Rory kind of the heat he took today, I see them running up the scoreboard as well. Like I don't, I
100%.
think the boys are going to play hard tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm
they
rooting for
they'll
it.
play hard tomorrow, and then they're gonna party hard tomorrow night. But they were gonna play through the whistle.
I'm calling Ludwig as your winning point tomorrow.
Perfect match number 5.
Yep.
I hope they run it up and leave no doubt. Like the
Pretty
only
solid.
if the U.S. somehow wins 8 points tomorrow and they can somehow get away with this not being an international
Ran out of
embarrassment.
holes.
That was the biggest disappointment today, was it not being
4-0
more
in the afternoon.
like 13 to 3. Like it should have been 13 to 3 instead of 11 and a half, 4.5.
I know it's Cam Scatterbo breaking out a little last minute touchdown there. Huh?
That's
Save
right.
the boys. A
That's
shutout.
right.
That's good stuff.
Well,
I
we will.
might be a Herman Boone tomorrow.
I think that's right.
Remember the night you played the Titans.
Leave no doubt. Guys, we will see. We will see. It's going to be fun to talk about. I think we got a lot of good stuff already on tap for tomorrow. So even if it's a blowout, I am confident we're going to have a lot of fun stuff to talk
This
about.
is such an unlikable group of U.S. players.
You've made that quite
incredible.
clear.
Thank you, TC.
Thank you. Just needed that said at this minute mark.
Guys, thank you to you guys for hopping on. Thanks to the Europeans for a truly delightful day of golf to watch. Thank you to our friends at High Noon Golf Pride, SoFi, Delete Me. Thank you to Cody for running the 1s and 2s. Thanks to Matt behind the scenes. We will talk to you're a strong believer in fate. You got a good feeling tomorrow?
No, absolutely not.
28-3.
One final thing. I got to spend 15 minutes talking with Ken Griffey Jr. today, and it was awesome. It was a highlight moment. There's maybe 10 athletes I would ask to take a photo with. As a Cincinnati Reds fan, he was one of them. And I only asked because we had like a great 15-minute conversation.
While he's on the job,
He not a big Reds guy. We talked Reds for a long time. Not a big fan. He had no problem with that going on the record as well, of how that organization is run, which made me feel a lot better about things.
Reds are winning 6-2. Wolfie just texted me, eat shit out of nowhere. Like,
Ooh,
interesting,
tough.
Wolfie.
That's
Okay.
one.
Are the
of them.
Reds dangerous tonight?
No,
Solid.
no. They'll blow it.
Deej, I do
That's
want to
all.
say too, just programming for tomorrow. We're going to be a little bit later, so if you're expecting us to fire it up as soon as the cup is handed over, we're going to wait for a little bit of press conferences and everything else like that. Do a solid Sunday night show, but look forward to seeing everybody through here.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Yeah, we will. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Cheers.
Cheers. Crack on.